everything all set up, so it's not going to be an issue this coming week.
I hope.
For those of you who want to see the video. We're pleased to have with us today 3 people who are affiliated with a new company called Illuminite. And the owner is Sue Teixeira, right here, who has a BA in economics from the University of Rhode Island from 1990. And when she was in school, she worked part-time for UPS. And after graduation, they offered her a full-time job, and she did that for 10 years, and then decided to work in the family business, which is called Accurate Services. And that is, I guess we could say, the parent company for Illuminate. And we also have Meg DeCulis. Some of you may know her as one of the professors who teaches in the department. She does TMD 327. She's very skilled at pattern making and draping. So she pitched in when Dr. Hannah was on sabbatical last year. Last fall. Last spring. Anyway, she has vast design experience and also a company, Back At You, is that still?
That's
So
our parent
it's
Illuminate.
kind of, all right, also morphing into you. And then one of our own grads, I know how much you enjoy hearing what's happening to people who've been in this classroom, in these seats before you were here. So we have Michelle McCarthy, who married and is now Michelle Brennan. And she worked, right, I think even as you were
last
graduating,
semester, yeah.
for the parent company, the Accurate Services, and is since moving on full-time with the Illuminate. So we'll hear more about what they do and about the company right now. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Meg DeCulis. I've had many of you here, which is really exciting. I want to thank you guys and Dr. Walters, Dr. Hannah, for inviting us to speak with you today. I am the creative director at Illuminite. Our company is actually called Back At Ya, and we brand our product under the name Illuminite. Like Dr. Walters said, I teach here at URI. So many of you see me probably roaming the halls and whatnot. And I'm here today with one of my business partners, as well as my right hand, Michelle McCarthy.
Sorry, everybody. This is certainly my first time teaching a class. So, excuse me. I'm Sue Teixeira. I am the president of Back At Ya. I am Meg's partner. I'm also the vice president of a company called Accurate Services. We are really a full-service apparel manufacturing company. And that's how we got involved with the Illuminite brand. And we are here today to really talk to you about the Illuminite technology. And truthfully, I think it's, go ahead.
So here's just a little snippet of what Illuminite is about. It really combines fashion and performance with safety. Our whole goal is to create garments that look like a regular garment by day, but then perform and provide a full silhouette of safety for running, cycling, walking your dog, just living and just being a regular human being.
So you guys can, I passed out a couple flashlights throughout the discussion. If you hold a flashlight to your nose and aim it at the garments, some of the things that we're wearing, you'll see it reflect back at you. So you can go ahead and turn one now and pass them around. You'll see my shirt's reflective. It reflects back to the source. So, oh, sorry, I should hold you guys. It reflects back to the source. So it's really only going to be by the person that's holding the flashlight. Sorry we didn't bring any more. But
yeah. So yeah.
So the this is the cover of our first catalog, or our second catalog. And we design clothes for both runners and cyclists. We include first layer garments as well as jackets and outerwear for both men and women. We also include some hats, gloves, bibs. They're very important to kind of help build the brand. You don't have to wear a full garment. You can wear reflective accessories to help yourself be more seen at night. For those in retailing, our average price point for tops is around $40 at the retail level, and our waterproof jackets get up to $120, $150. And our competition is basically like Boost Running, as well as Pearl Izumi. Those are specialty brands that cater just to a certain group. We also would say our competition is Nike. They're huge, and you know, they kind of dominate a lot of different athletic sports. But yeah, so that's the start for us. And Sue is going to tell you a little bit about our history.
Okay. The history of Illuminite actually goes back to a gentleman by the name of Adam Lazika. And he was an MIT graduate and also an avid cyclist. And at the time that he graduated from MIT, he was working for a company that was really making packaging products. It was kind of boring. But he worked with this one application that was using these glass beads as a coating on a packaging. Well, being the avid cyclist that he was, he thought it would be a really cool idea to apply that same coating to fabric so that he could get a jacket that was 100% reflective, so 360-degree reflectivity. So he talks with his brother Rob and his cousin Dan, and long story short, they end up purchasing this company in the UK that actually made these glass beads that were using this reflective coating. Took them about 2 years, a lot of research and development, probably a lot of money, and they developed what was called, what they actually trademarked as these satellite dishes. And matter of fact, we have some little examples of them, and if you guys want to come up and check them out, you can. But basically, it really just looks like silver powder if you look at it. But if you were to put it under a microscope, what you'd see is a teeny microscopic little mirror, concave mirror, that looks like a reflective satellite dish. So yeah, kind of like those guys up there.
It's like a little bead, and then like one side of it is coated with like mirror. So it's a little round ball, but one side of it has a coating on it that reflects back like a mirror would.
So part of their challenge was not only creating this reflective bead, but was getting it to adhere to fabric that would actually last more than 2 or 3 washes. So they have a super secret recipe, which we're really not privy to, but there is a super secret recipe, and when combined with the right ingredients, it forms what we call reflective ink, really layman's terms. But all those little satellite dishes are floating around in here. And they figured out how to get it to adhere to fabric so that it would last up to over 40 washes. And truthfully, I have Illuminite products that have been washed well over 100 times and are still like day one. So they developed this technology. They were able to apply it to fabrics. They opened a company, literally a fabric converting company in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Started buying fabrics from people like Malden Mills, back when Malden Mills was still around. And Gore-Tex and yeah, all sorts of other manufacturers. They actually started working with some people in China as well and figured out how to convert roller fabric. So they could sell fabric to people like Nike and Adidas and LOB and
Sorrel Boots.
Yeah. So they, I mean, I have a backpack, an LOB backpack that's made out of Illuminite. It's actually really cool. I should have brought it. So they were in the fabric business, and that's how the brand Illuminite developed as a fabric converter. And they sold to big companies, mostly big activewear, but also some companies that were making, like safety garments, and we'll go over that stuff later, but like safety vests and EMS wear and police and fire, that kind of stuff. They then sold the technology 10 years into their venture in about, I would say probably 2001, to a company called Reflect PLC that is over in the UK that today owns the technology and the patent for Illuminite. And we, Back At You Apparel, have the rights to license the brand and technology in North and South America. So that's a little history of kind of how it works and how we're involved in it. And we primarily, we don't convert fabric. Truthfully, what they found was there wasn't a ton of money to be made in the fabric business in this country, which is why they decided to either start making finished goods or get out of the fabric business, and that's how they sold to PLC, who decided to get into the finished goods apparel market.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's interesting is when you're in this industry, you're going to realize how small it really is. When Sue's company, Accurate Services, called me about, I don't know, 5 years ago, and said, will you do some consulting for this company? And I went and I sat with them. Illuminite was a product that I had used in a children's wear company that I had been design director for back in the 90s with the Riziker brothers. They had approached us. We purchased the fabric from them, which was really expensive at the time. So the garments ended up being really expensive. And we did a private label program with L.L. Bean for children's wear, because at the time L.L. Bean didn't even do their own children's wear. They actually came to companies like Cherry Tree and asked us if we could design a line for them. So I did work for L.L. Bean as well as EMS and REI, all using Illuminite. And then Sue called me back and said, oh, can you come help me? And I went in there and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've lived this whole story before. I know exactly this product. I've been down this road. And ironically enough, the company Illuminite at the time was being run by these guys in England. They had people here in the US who were designing and fitting and manufacturing this product, and it was just one of the reasons that we needed help was that things weren't fitting. So you're going to find that in your life too, that there are people who end up actually in charge of certain companies who really aren't from the garment industry. And you will have that job. We talk about needs and constraints in our projects. That's one of my needs and constraints. When Michelle laughed, she goes, we have a lot of needs and constraints. But you're going into a company and saying, okay, you know what? We got a bunch of fabric. We got to figure this out. Things don't fit. What can you do for us? So a lot of times you'll go in as a merchandiser, a designer, a product developer, and you've got to kind of figure this out. And that was probably my first foray with you guys. And then we decided, heck with that, we're just going to own the company. So did that work?
All right, so what we like to call ourselves is silhouette reflectivity. The idea is that we place the reflective fabric on certain areas of the garment. So when a car, say the car's headlights in nighttime, shines on you, reflects back to the driver, and it's easier to see a human being. It looks like a human form, rather than, you know, little reflective stripes on the shoes. Maybe you have some on, you know, a little reflective belt. Especially if you're wearing dark clothes, you just disappear into the background. The idea is that Illuminite looks ordinary by day. It's kind of a silvery ink, and then it's highly reflective. It looks like it's glowing bright white when a car's headed towards you. So we'll go to this one too. This is also a picture from the photo shoot. My husband, my roommate, my sister, they're all our models as well. But this also kind of shows the guy in the middle is wearing a blue jacket. The guy on the edge is gray with jeans, and my sister's wearing a coral glow color. So even just the high vis color does make you more visible. But you can see how the reflectivity placement just makes you stand out, even in being, what was that, 8 o'clock at night? In the wintertime.
Yes.
And so this is where we work.
Okay, I think I told you a little bit about, I guess you could call it the parent company, Accurate Services. My father started this business well over 25 years ago at this point. We are located in an old mill building in Fall River, Massachusetts. The building has been in my family now for probably about 35 years. Way back in the day, a company called Whittington Garment that was owned by my grandfather used to manufacture nurses' uniforms. And when I say nurses' uniforms, I don't mean the scrubs that you guys see people in today. Typical white, when back in the day, nurses used to wear these white dresses and a hat and nylons and the whole bit. And that's what Whittington Garment did. Well, as you well know, you don't see that stuff around anymore. So that company to say closed down in 1985, and then my father started Accurate Services in 1986. And we're a full-service apparel manufacturer. We do not design and or produce anything for ourselves. We produce, do pattern making, technical design, manufacturing, warehouse services, which I like to call pick, pack, and ship, for other companies that are in the apparel industry, which is why we called upon Meg to help us with the Illuminite stuff. Because we don't, at that time, we didn't have a designer on staff. Michelle was still probably a freshman here, or not even a freshman here. And we called upon Meg to help us with the design, because we really don't do that. We count on our customers to supply us with that information.